Hello everyone, and welcome back. My name is Wolf, and recently FTB released a brand new update to Tinker's Construct. Previously, I made a guide for everything up to version 2.0, and it's been my most successful video in my 3 years of making content, so thank you guys so much for that. The newest version 3.0 comes with a slew of new bug fixes, new blocks, new smeltery parts, new gadgets, and a brand new villager Tinker. This video will follow a similar format to the 2.0 release, where we're going to revisit each book, but in kind of a more streamlined and abridged way. I also want to address some of the more reoccurring issues that viewers mentioned in the comments of the last video, as well as highlight and go over all the new updates. Before getting started, make sure your game has fully updated and you've downloaded the latest hotfix. This patch fixed the guidebooks no longer working, some recipes and other codes being overridden, as well as the, ability to milk any mob. Yeah, so make sure you're running pack version 1.0.52. Before we dive into today's video, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Instant Gaming, your go-to for survival game deals. Scum is just 18 bucks, 66% off. Voyagers of Nora, $19, down 44%. And V Rising's Eternal Pack, $9, slashed by 61%. Instant delivery, no waiting. Click the link below. All right, let's get started. Starting with Materials and You, book number 1. Now, the majority of this book remains the same. However, for whatever reason, in the last video, I completely forgot to talk about bows. Thank you to those of you who pointed that out. Not sure how that happened. But just like all the Tinker's weapons, you can craft multiple different types, each one applying a different type of ability based off of the bow the material was made from. Unfortunately, these can only be made from one type of material, so no mixing. The recipe is the same as a vanilla bow, requiring 3 string, but then 3 large tool handles of whatever material you wish. I recommend using Manulium for the plunder ability and its high durability. Also, if you weren't aware, Tinker's bows have a secret. Well, sort of. See, Minecraft players know that you cannot use both the Infinity Enchant and Mending at the same time. But with Tinker's bows, you can bypass this by using repair kits. So you can enchant your bow with Infinity and keep its durability up indefinitely as long as you keep using those kits. While all of the tier 1 materials remain the same, there is a new type of ore to find: tin. Tin can be found in the same areas as copper, and it comes in many different forms: raw, nuggets, ingots, and blocks. Its main use will be to make the new bronze alloy, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. It has a few other uses, and it makes a very cool industry-looking block to build with. As you can see, I used it to accent the blacksmith room that we're standing in. Moving on to book number 2, Puny Smelting. This is where we start to see more mechanical updates. First, you need to assemble your melter, requiring seared bricks to make seared brick blocks. You can customize seared blocks however you'd like by adding more things like clay bricks to make cobblestone or glass to make seared glass. You can use a stone cutter for more options. In the last video, I misspoke and said it was copper that you can use, but that's incorrect. Sorry about that one. Now we need to assemble the large smeltery. First, you need the controller, a seared tank, and a seared drain. The controller is made by pouring molten copper onto a seared brick block while inside a casting basin. The other two are crafted using seared bricks, copper, and glass. The outline will appear around the structure for you to build, and once you've met all the requirements, it will disappear. Unfortunately, you can't change the shape of the forge, but you can change the material it's made from, allowing you to customize the look. You can add multiple tanks, multiple drains, add some glass, but you can only have one controller. With both your forges assembled, you can place ingots and different types of ore into each as long as you have enough fuel like coal or lava. But now, how do you get the molten material out? Prior to 3.0, you had iron cans, copper cans, and buckets. Well, FTB decided to do away with iron cans for the much more practical tin cans. They have the same crafting recipe and can hold the same amount of material as an iron can. Quick note, containers. These seem to be another area that was confusing people, so let's break it down. The unit used for measuring molten material is called millibuckets, or MBs. The two forges treat ore slightly differently depending on the phase it's in. Take gold for example. When using the smaller forge, it will take 5 raw or 5 ingots to get enough material to make a full block. However, when using the big forge, it will require 5 raw or 10 ingots to make a full block. The trade-off for being less efficient is that the large forge can hold more material at once. Shout out to Dragonoid over on the FTB Discord who helped me configure some of the new material exchange numbers as well as create this killer spreadsheet. And from what we were able to figure out is both forges are more efficient when smelting raw ore versus ingots, with the exception of diamonds and netherite, which may still be bugged as they require double the amount to make a block versus all other materials which only require 5. I really like the small chat or HUD indicator when you interact with the melter. It shows how much fuel is left, how much material is inside, but the big forge doesn't have this feature. So I'm not sure if that was missed or maybe it's still bugged, but I would really love to see that come to both forges. While cans and buckets are still the fastest way to move molten material and store it, 3.0 is getting closer and closer to the original Java version and now has a faucet. Made with 3 seared bricks, it can be placed directly on a melter or a drain, and when placed above a casting basin, you can interact with the faucet to pour molten material directly into the basin. This allows you to dump more material all at once. Requires a lot less clicking to move buckets around. You need to at least have 900 MBs worth of material in the forge in order to make a block. The faucet can also be placed above a casting table, and you can pour material directly into casting molds. Another area of contention in the last video that I had a lot of people comment on was how to actually make some of the higher tier materials like rose gold, netherite blend, or heptazine. You need to craft the alloy crafting station. You need a normal crafting table, 4 clay bricks, 1 furnace, and 3 seared brick. This is where you will be able to see all the recipes for any of the special tinker ores. Speaking of the alloy crafter and new alloys, 3.0 brings us into the Bronze Age. By combining 3 raw copper and 1 raw tin, you can now make bronze. Bronze is the newest tier 2 material that can be crafted into all the tool parts that you already know and love. It falls right in line with diamond gear power-wise, but it's only as durable as iron. Tools and weapons made from this material inherit the trait Reinforced. With each use, you have a 20% chance to avoid consuming durability. So it sounds kind of like a weaker version of Unbreaking, but it's still kind of cool to have. A ton of people commented on the last video asking how to get ingots of certain ores and how to make repair kits for their higher tier items. Well, there are more than just forge castings for tool parts. You can also make castings for ingots and repair kits. They are made the same way you make all other castings and come in temporary sand casts or permanent gold castings. I recommend making the gold one since you can use it forever. First, make a stone repair kit or place any type of ingot that you want onto a casting table. Take a bucket of gold or interact with the faucet above to dump the material on top. Give it a moment and voila! You now have a way to repair all levels of your gear and a way to make ingots for things like armor. Speaking of armor, let's jump on to the next book, Mighty Smelting. I also had a lot of people comment asking how to make the armor or what does the armor do, etc. The Bedrock edition of Tinkers only has 1 set of armor. Well, technically 2 if you count the leather Tinker set, but the one I'm talking about is the plate set. In order to make this set, you need to first craft 1 of the 3 Tinker anvils, copper, iron, or diamond. Again, something I showed off in the last video, but didn't explain very well. These are all created the same as a vanilla anvil, requiring 3 blocks of whatever material you'd like, but this time needing 4 seared brick blocks instead of ingots. These anvils are used to craft the special weapons like the cleaver, as well as the plate armor. This set is similar to diamond armor, but grants slightly less protection. It can be customized with embellishments, which are sort of like a version of a trim, but they change the entire color of the armor. Unfortunately, the armor does not take on the properties of the ingot it was made with, like the weapons and tools do. Instead, it just slightly improves the protection. The rest of Mighty Smelting stays the same, with the exception of the faucet, which I already mentioned. The modifier book has no significant changes, and that system remains the same, so that one's a pretty easy one to cover. However, book 5, Gadgetry, does have some new exciting stuff. Starting with these slime islands. These used to trigger when you planted a slime bean. There are 5 in total: Earth, Clay, Sky, Scarlet, and Ender. But now these tiny biomes spawn naturally throughout all dimensions. You can find different types of slimes as well as different slime seeds. These can be planted on regular dirt and will change into the corresponding slime grass. This will start spawning different kinds of slimes in other parts of the world and not just on the tiny islands. And yes, the slime slings are now finally fixed. While they were working during the recording of my last video, Minecraft updated to whatever version came right before Vibrant Visuals and broke everything. But now they're all working again. Let's recap what they do. The Earth Sling sends you up into the air. The longer you hold, the higher you go. Watch out for fall damage. The Sky Sling launches the user in the direction that you're aiming. Scarlet Sling sends nearby mobs flying instead of launching the user. Ender Sling teleports the user to the targeted location, similar to throwing an Ender Pearl. Combining all 4 of these slings with some extra string will give you the Ichor Slime Sling. Still not 100% sure why this is in the game. It acts almost like a mix between the Earth Sling and the Scarlet Sling. When you shoot it, the mobs around you, they get launched straight into the air instead of you. This kind of seems more like a meme item to me. Which leads me to my next item, cheese. Yes, you heard me. FTB added cheese to Tinkers. Cheese comes in both ingots and blocks and can be crafted by pouring a bucket of milk into a casting basin, and after a few seconds will change into a block of cheese. Now this block isn't just for show. When consuming cheese, it removes all status effects. So here, let me give myself weakness. I can eat this block of cheese, and there we go. It removes the effect and gives me back 3 cheese ingots. Ingots can also remove effects, they just don't give any cheese back when you eat them. Another new addition are the ore berry bushes. These are small crops that you can plant essentially to farm different types of ore. They are fairly rare spawn throughout the world, but not impossible to find. They act very similar to sweet berries, where you can interact with the bush to collect the berries, or you can break the bush to get seeds. If you have a bundle with you, you can combine it with any berry to make a berry bundle, which is specifically designed to carry all of your berries. First, let's go over the seeds. These can be planted on grass and can be affected by bone meal. They don't require water nearby like crops. Treat them exactly like sweet berries. There are 6 different types: copper, iron, gold, diamond, emerald, and XP. Now the berries, on the other hand, have 2 different functions. You can eat them and receive a buff for 30 seconds. Copper grants haste, iron grants resistance, gold grants speed, diamond grants a health boost, emerald grants hero of the village, and XP berries give 5 XP. Or you can place them in a furnace or a blast furnace to get nuggets or shards, depending on the type. More specifically, diamonds and emeralds will yield shards. You can craft these together with 9 shards to make a full gem. Now, if you haven't been able to find any of these bushes in the wild, don't worry, there's still another way to go acquire seeds. You can trade for them. The Wandering Tinker Trader has been upgraded and is now a fully fledged Tinker Villager. By placing any of the Tinker workstations near the villager, you can convert them into this new vendor, just like any other job block. You can buy seeds, slime island items, and even mob heads, all for emeralds. It does seem that there are still quite a few bugs with this guy though. The trades don't restock over time like a normal villager, and if you cured a zombie and turned it into a normal villager and then try to convert it into a tinker, it won't work. So these guys still might have a few things to iron out, but overall I think this is a nice addition. And that's it, guys. All of the new features as well as some clarity on some of the confusing stuff from the last video. I hope you all enjoyed and found this video helpful. If you did, go ahead and leave a like. Consider subscribing if you want to stay up to date with some of the best add-ons in the Minecraft marketplace. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming and watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Wolf, out!